How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper. My goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading, whether the price is going up or down. So we'll get over to Bitcoin. We will start with our Dixie. Remember, that does trade. Now, that's not the weekend, so we did see a little bit of indecision here. Watch for a continued reversal. If we see a continued reversal, we could see crypto continue forward. Remember, usually they are inversely related. Stochastic is starting to round, RSI is starting to pull back, VWAP is starting to sell off that yellow wave, so as that continues lower, momentum will continue to round and money flow will continue to reject, and that will give us more bearish momentum. Again, watch those lower time frames. Over on the 1 hour, we could have a descending channel here though, so that could be positive. Remember, a descending channel here. Let me fix my mouse real quick. I had it on the high setting, so there we go. Descending channels do break you up, so that is a bullish pattern. I would warn against that because remember, a bullish pattern on our Dixie could make crypto pull back more. So we do have 3 touches to the bottom. We are attempting to break out. We did get a rejection. It is important to see where we go from here. If we break our EMA band and we push to the bottom and break that bottom, then it's likely we will see bearish momentum invalidate that pattern, because remember, you want to break after that 3rd touch. So we did get a rejection candle, and we are indecision afterwards, which indecision after I push down can create a bear flag to push you lower within our pattern. RSI is starting to pull back, that stochastic is rounding away, VWAP is pushing down, our momentum is rounding, and money flow is remaining bearish. So we're not very strong there on the 1 hour, but there is some hope that we could break forward providing we hold that pattern. Over on dominance for the daily, we are overall weakening. Again, this just shows Bitcoin versus our altcoins. That means Bitcoin sold off a little worse than altcoins. Altcoins lost about 1/3%. Bitcoin about 1.5%. Our stochastic does want to round away. Watch as that orange is above blue. That does mean RSI will come lower, that red line. Our momentum is starting to round away. As that yellow wave, our VWAP pushes lower. So watch that blue wave, our momentum. If it continues lower with our yellow wave, our VWAP, then we will see that money flow break into bearish territory and we could continue lower. Over on our total for the daily, we did try to run up toward what would be the top of this channel area, so we can kind of pull that over, unlock that, pull it over. So we did get pretty close to that. I would warn against a break above that. We do need to hold here. We did not hold and we did break down. So we did push forward. We did get our bull flag break up, so I will delete that on this higher time frame. Actually, we can leave that just to see how it played out, just to cover how that went. Our stochastic does want to round. RSI is starting to weaken. That VWAP is bullish, so I would watch. If that VWAP stays in the bullish territory, that yellow wave, our momentum will push forward with that green dot, and money flow will remain in the green. That'll mean we have continued buying pressure on our altcoins. Remember, total is the market cap of all the altcoins besides Ethereum. So if this goes up, usually your altcoin's going up with it. There are exceptions. Sometimes things do trade opposite. So over on the 1 hour, you can see we broke toward this 300 EMA and our resistance at that 602. We did not break it. We pulled back, hit the top of our channel, and we got a bullish candle. We followed it with another strong green candle, broke that EMA, and broke our resistance. Then we started to bounce. That would have been where you could have rode that candle. You would hopefully not been too greedy, because you would have been in for this bounce, or you could taken in this bounce, like we say in Mastering the Trade. When you get your pullback and your bounce, you do want to buy in. So if you saw that second green candle, that could have been your kind of clue, especially when we broke that EMA. Hopefully you had something set in advance to buy ahead. Otherwise, you may have gotten left behind. Remember, it's important to set things in advance. Know your entrance and your exit. If you know your entrance and your exit, then you're less likely to lose your money. But this does mean we did break up forward. We did break most of our pattern. We did hit toward that golden pocket. We warned that that could be an area where we see rejection. So hopefully you took that as a sign to take profits, or at least your initial out. And now we are pulling back and starting to break that support area. I would watch, because we are also breaking that 300 EMA, and this could be a little double top. So if we break the current zone we're in, we could push lower, because our neckline would be right about here. So eyeballing that, you'll draw your neckline from where your 2 points connect, and then you would draw from your neckline up to your head, and that would give your breakdown point. So that could pull us back toward that flag area. I would warn against a break of that area, because then we could see further bearish momentum and not get continued highs with higher lows. That momentum is pulling back. VWAP is favoring bearish. Money flow is bullish. So if that VWAP and momentum continue to drop, our money flow is likely going to start to reverse. Watch out for that, as that means we will have further selling pressure, more selling pressure than buying pressure. So over on Bitcoin futures, did not mean to skip that. Over on Bitcoin futures for the daily, we did reject our pulling control on that fixed range volume profile. Remember, that's an important support resistance area, and that does mean we could pull back to our 61.7. If we break that, remember, we do have our 57 gap that we do want to see fill, but this does mean we could have a potential lower high, so watch for lower lows, as that could create a bearish trend. If it creates a descending channel though, remember, a descending channel does push you forward. It's a little misleading sounding. Stochastic does want to start to round, so keep an eye on that. If it breaks below our 30, then RSI could pull back and bring price lower with it. Momentum is starting to weaken as that VWAP was favoring bearish. We are currently in the bullish territory, but that wave is very weak and it's starting to round already, so I would watch out. If that continues to drop down and favor bearish, momentum will break, money flow will continue in the red, and we would see a continued push down. Again, that would be ideal to push down and fill our 57 gap ahead of time, because you don't want to run up and then have that gap hanging below, because then you could come crashing down. So over on the 1 hour, we did hold our 300 EMA. That could be positive for a case where we do make a bounce, but again, watch for that double top. This could be a double top, just like we covered on total. So our RSI is starting to weaken, stochastic is pulling back. That VWAP is favoring bearish with lower lows and lower highs, and momentum is breaking as a result. If this continues, that money flow can go from green to red, and we would see continued selling pressure. So watch that EMA and that VWAP very close here. Over on the daily for Bitcoin, we did get our full break forward. We will cover how this looked on the lower time frame. So we did get our full break forward and we got a rejection. So hopefully you were watching and you had that set up ahead of time, because that's usually how you'll get your trade filled. If you waited to see the candle at that position, most likely everyone else's orders will again filled first. RSI is starting to pull back, stochastic is rounding, that VWAP is bullish, momentum is trying to push forward, but if that VWAP does round away, we could still see momentum reject, so I would watch lower timeframes and watch if they can hold bullishly yet in order for that daily to get some decent bullish momentum. Over on the 1 hour, we have very similar to total, so we did get a retest of our flag. You got another green candle that could have been your cue to push forward. So you could have bought in this range, and then you could have seen we did start to pull back here. Maybe you sold off in this range, and then you waited for a reclaim of this support resistance area, or you probably waited it out. Most likely, most people should wait it out. You don't want to just trade the zigzag action unless you're really watching the market very closely. But we did push down. We broke our 300 EMA. We do have a long lower shadow, so that long lower shadow does show that the bears are starting to lose some control, and the bulls can push us forward. If we see a candle that breaks that 63K, then we could continue further and still break forward, making a bullish move. Remember, that would give us higher lows with higher highs, not necessarily a pattern, but it could push us up. Watch against a descending channel or lower highs with lower lows. This could potentially be a high, a low, and a low. So I would watch if we push up, reject that resistance area. We could make a little bit of a bearish continuation if we're not careful. Watch for a descending channel. A descending channel would be the bullish scenario where you could still push forward, because remember, that name is very misleading and it does push you forward. So over on graph for the daily, we did try to break our support area. We tried to run to that orange EMA, but now we have a long upper shadow candle. I would watch for a strong red candle here. If we see a strong red candle, we could break that 16,316, continue lower, and potentially hit that 14,316. Remember, that long upper shadow shows bulls tried to run up, but bears are trying to step in. It could be a hammer candle with a green hammer, so I would watch for a green candle. A green candle following a hammer candle would push you up, so that's why it's important to watch for confirmation. Don't just jump in. Momentum does want to break down. That VWAP does want to break bullish, so watch that VWAP close. If it holds bullish, we could continue forward. Money flow is in the green, so we do look pretty decent here. Over on graph for the hourly, we did come down to our 300 EMA. We did attempt to break it, but we are trying to get a little bit of bullish momentum. Again, long lower shadow candle, which shows bears tried to push you up, but bulls are trying to push us forward, so watch for a strong green candle. If we get that, we could still continue forward. If we see a red candle, we could get those lower highs with lower lows to continue us lower, and since they wouldn't connect too well right now, that could be a bearish continuation, which would, as its name suggests, continue to push you down. Momentum does want to bring you down. VWAP is favoring bearish, so watch that VWAP close. If it continues to favor bearish, our money flow will start to break down as well. Over on Ankr for the daily, We are holding above our resistance area, but we did get kind of stopped out by that EMA, so I would watch. We are holding our green EMA though, so if we can make a bounce here, we can still make a push forward, but again, watch lower time frames. That VWAP is bullish, momentum wants to push forward, money flow is green, stochastic's trying to push forward, but starting to curl right at that 30. So if we lose this area, we could see RSI start to weaken and bring price action lower with it. Over on Ankr for the 1 hour here, we did reject that 300 EMA after attempting to break above it. We did have a gap when we saw this run forward. We kind of held that EMA, then we lost it. So hopefully you saw that. You got a little bit of a bounce. You didn't get too greedy, but you could have seen this push down. You would have seen that gap, and that would have told you at some point you could jump up to fill the gap. So maybe you DCA'd in this range where those EMAs are. But we did push forward, tried to hold that EMA again, and ultimately we did get a little reversal that green. That's why I don't trust those green dots. They don't really help push you forward all the time. They're supposed to suggest bullish momentum, but we are starting to break away. We lost our EMA here, and we do have a potential to push to that 2673, and we do have a gap below us at that 2636, so I would watch that close because that could continue to push us down. Watch if we get a lower low at that point without higher highs. If we do, we could see the bears gain further control and push us lower. Remember, we do have some other support ranges like that 2338. I don't think we quite have a gap there yet, but I would actually we have one way back here, a little micro gap. So we do technically have a gap and one right back here at that 2379. So I would watch those ranges very closely if we do break that 2673. Our money flow is weakening, VWAP is falling back, momentum is dropping, so watch that close. As that VWAP continues to drop, our money flow will start to weaken, and if it flips in red and holds, then we could see continued bearish pressure. So over on XRP for the daily, we do still have this kind of sideways momentum here, so I would still warn against a bear flag forming that could try to break us down and push us away from our bull flag scenario. We did try to break that 54 like we said to watch for, but we got rejected, so hopefully you paid close attention. VWAP does want to round away, momentum is pushing down, and money flow is continuing to weaken, so watch lower time frames. If they break into a bearish trend, we could end up rejecting over here. Over on the 1 hour, we did attempt to break, then we got a rounding top, so that's why you watch out for those little indecision candles after getting a push up, because they can end up bringing you down very quick like it did back here. Sometimes they don't play out as quickly, like right here, it took some time, but other times they can just drop you right down. Sometimes the bears have a little more drop than the bulls can get a push, but that's because it takes a little bit more to get people more confident in the market moving, and it's not so hard getting them fearful, because if they see it drop a cent, sometimes they just jump out. VWAP is breaking down. We do have lower highs with lower lows, pushing momentum lower, so if that continues, our money flow could end up going from green to red, and then we could see further bearish momentum. So over on ALGO for the daily, we do potentially have a rising channel that could be going on here, so I would warn against that. Remember, a rising channel is a bearish pattern that can break you down. So that would be our channel right there. Very slight rise on it, and then we would draw from here to here, and then you would take that line below, so that would break that 1032. If this does play out, it could give us some new lows and fill that wick. Remember, wicks are like candle gaps. They do tend to fill. Momentum is pushing down, VWAP does want to round, money flow is pulling back, our stochastic is starting to round, and RSI is starting to push down, so I would exercise caution here. Over on the 1 hour, we did try to break that 300 EMA, but we got rejected, so hopefully if you were watching for a trade, you saw that kind of indecision rejection there, you sold out, got your initial or your profit out. Hopefully you got your initial and some profit. That way, if you do pull back, you're not at a loss. If you get your initial out before your market pulls back, then all you're losing is any gains. If you take some of your gains, then you still have gains, and then you have a little bit to play with. So those are the kind of three strategies you could use when trading. We are overall pushing down, so I would exercise caution. This could be a descending channel though, so I would say that is positive. Remember, a descending channel does try to push you forward. So watch for that VWAP to break for higher highs with higher lows. If we can see that happen, that money flow could continue to bounce and we could continue further. But again, watch that VWAP close. We are kind of on edge of breaking, and we did reject that 300 EMA. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a great night.